Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. My name is Chris Salem, your host. Welcome if this is your first time here at the TALRadio platform. Business Influencers has been serving business entrepreneurs and leaders now for almost 4 years. It's hard to believe we've been on the TALRadio platform. But again, welcome. We are excited to have you here as we every week bring subject matter experts to share their words of wisdom and insights and personal experiences to help elevate your business and level of influence to the next level. We encourage you also to check us out on Spotify, Apple, as well as YouTube, in conjunction with also being here at the talradio.org platform. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. And it offers a wide array of different services, both on a professional and personal level as a member. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got another great show for you today. We are going to be talking about No Money, Just Mission, the lawyer who built a business on purpose. Yes. And we are here with attorney Mark G. Astor. Mark is an experienced lawyer specializing in mental health and addiction law, and he does a lot of public speaking and podcast and corporate training in this particular area. Mark has done some wonderful things over the years, and he's going to share with you his journey and how he started with nothing to where his business is today, but all designed to help people and on purpose. And without further ado, we welcome Mark Astor to the show. Mark, how you doing today?
I'm good. And Chris, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your podcast. I'm excited to talk to you about what we're doing and to talk a little bit about being an entrepreneur. Such fun, right?
We are excited to hear this. And, Mark, we always love to hear about, the backstory that got you here, how you help and create impact with the people that you serve in your law firm. Also when you're doing this, when you're speaking at various venues around the world, as well as being on podcasts like this, and when you're out there training organizations in the areas that you specialize in as a lawyer. Talk a little bit about your journey, what led up to, your law firm doing all these great things and you personally in this space.
So the mission of the law firm that we have right now, that's been going for the last 10 years, that I founded with my wife, is to save families whose loved ones have substance use, mental health disorders, and failed attempts at recovery. And it really wasn't until I started doing this work, starting in February of 2016, that I really had any purpose. So I've been practicing 31 years. I was a prosecutor and assistant state attorney here in Palm Beach County from 1994 to 1999. I did not get very well paid. Government lawyers do not make good money. But from a professional level, it was extremely satisfying work. I really enjoyed the work. But after 5 years there of trying lots and lots of cases and putting some really nasty people, but in jail and prison, I was a little fried. I was really burned out. And so I left. I went to do defense work. I went to work for my family business. And I'll be honest with you, I was completely miserable, even though I was making considerably more money. I got married and divorced. I was married at 34. I was divorced at 35. And really, I was sort of in the wilderness until about 10 years ago. I tried very hard not to practice law. I took a year off in 2004 and went to DC. I worked on a presidential campaign and got my master's in law, but my candidate lost, so I had to come back. I worked in another family business and I was miserable doing that too. I couldn't find any professional or personal satisfaction. I went to, after the '08 crashed, I ran off to California for about 3-4 years. I took the bar out there twice, failed it twice. I really tripped the light fantastic out there. I dated every woman I wanted to date out there. It worked out. I had a good time, but 4 years in, I was broke. I had no money. So I came back. I took the California bar a third time. I studied for it here in Florida. I got within a percentage point of passing, but I didn't pass. And people were saying to me, "You're supposed to be in Florida. You're supposed to be in Florida. You're not listening. You're not listening." And then I met somebody that basically changed the complete course of my life. I met a guy called R. John Robbins. R. John Robbins runs a company down in Miami called How to Manage a Small Law Firm. And I saw him speak at a breakfast meeting that I wasn't even intending to go, but I went anyway. And what How to Manage does is it teaches lawyers the business side of the practice of law. In other words, how to be an entrepreneurial lawyer. But the underlying foundation of How to Manage is that personal growth must precede financial growth. And what they really are at their very core, is they're a personal growth company for lawyers. Talk about like an oxymoron, right? Personal growth, lawyers. That is the underlying philosophy. And I spent a year there learning about being an entrepreneurial lawyer. But more importantly, I took that year to grow up and finally take 100% responsibility for my own life, which I don't think I'd ever really done before, you know. And so after a year there, I decided I wanted to leave, go and open up my own law firm. And Arjun said to me, okay, what do you want to do? Who do you want to help? And I said, well, I know this sounds odd, but I've been surrounded for pretty much my entire life by family members, friends who had issues with drugs and alcohol and mental illness. That's who I'm going to help. And he said, well, how do you plan to do that? I said, I have no idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I didn't have a business plan. I just had a bunch of people that I said, okay, that's who I'm going to help. And I sat myself down in the local library here in Boca because they had free Wi-Fi and pretty good and cheap coffee. And I was there for at least the first 6 months that I had the business. I ran around handing out my business card because I hadn't even lived in Florida in a while. I hadn't practiced law in several years. And nobody even knew who the hell I was, at least in the behavioral health space. And it actually took 14 months before somebody gave me a behavioral health case. And I took other cases. I took took a student athlete who was in serious trouble, who was going to lose his scholarship because of a alleged sexual misconduct with a female student. I took family law cases. I took criminal cases. 11 months in, I lost my dad. So for the first 2 or 3 years I had the business, I was living with my mom. First of all, I didn't want to leave her alone, and two, I didn't have any money or credit, so it didn't really matter. I met my now wife, who's my law partner, the second year that we had the practice, because by that time I was able to get myself a very small, like, executive suite. And I always remember that the office was just a tiny bit bigger than the desk, so I had enough room to walk around and get behind so I could sit. And she told me she had a background in guardianship. So she had lived in Massachusetts for many years with her children before she got divorced. And I think what we figured out was we could use guardianship, which was really had traditionally and always been used for elderly people, to help the clients that we work with, which is people with long-term substance use and mental health disorders. And we started working together, and, over the next 7 years, it was just the two of us doing everything. And then the last 2 years, we hired staff. I actually went back to How to Manage as a member, and we have an entire C-suite of people that help us with the business. And so it's been one hell of a journey. And now I have, there's 10 of us, 4 lawyers and case managers and paralegals. And I mean, it's, which brings its own challenges, right? Dealing with staff and all those fun stuff. But the mission of the firm has really never changed. Our focus may have shifted slightly because of the kinds of cases we're getting, but the mission has been the same since day one, which is to find people that we can help who are dealing with these issues and help them to save their family. That's what we do.
Wow, that's fabulous. Thank you for being transparent. And it's always refreshing to hear, someone, where, you got into a business on purpose only. It wasn't just about, how much money I can make, livelihood. It was really about helping other people. And I always say that those are the types of business, especially in law, that really, really connect with people and, position you as a trusted advisor. What would you share from your experience that you just shared from that story to someone listening here that's, runs a business, could be even a lawyer looking to start their own law firm, or a CPA starting their own firm, that type of thing? What would you encourage them to do first, like what you did at that time? And at the time you weren't sure what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, there is a blueprint for success, right? And as lawyers, I had no business training, and so I went and got it. So you have to learn how to run a business. There is a way to do it, and there's a way to completely mess it up. So I think that's the first thing. You've got to get the knowledge. I think you need to find a bunch of people that you really, really want to help. And the other thing is you got to be thick-skinned about this. I mean, it is, people, I've heard the story, oh, he was an overnight success. Yeah, it took him 15, 20 years to become an overnight success, right? And it's taken me 10 years to be that overnight success. But I'll tell you, we work on our business every single day. I mean, we stopped work. I was working 7 days a week until about 3 months ago when my doctor said, listen, you're going to have to back it off because you're killing yourself. And my wife's like, either shut it down on the weekends or I don't know to tell you, I won't better live with you anymore. Right. So it's like trying to push a boulder up a hill. Yeah. You have to take massive action. You cannot be deterred by the failures that are going to come along because there's going to be some failures. There's cases we don't get that we wanted to get. There's staff that we hire that didn't work out. There's marketing we tried that didn't work out after we poured thousands of dollars into it. And you have to be willing. You have to be willing to try things and be willing to fail at them because otherwise you don't know what works, right? You got to allow the process to nudge you in the right direction. And that, takes a certain mentality and a certain, having a little bit of grit, right? And willing to fight through some things. And, I think as Winston Churchill once said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Yeah. So you have to keep going. Otherwise, if you stop, you are guaranteed to fail.
Well, you just made a great point about the grit and keep going no matter what's happening. One thing what you just said just reminded me what I learned in my journey as an entrepreneur over 20 years is, challenges, obstacles, and problems are not a bad thing. I mean, I used to try to avoid them. I used to complain about them. I used to gossip about them. I used to deflect how I felt onto other people about them. I now embrace them, even though it's not comfortable. Sometimes you question yourself, what am I doing? But nonetheless, I keep doing it because without those challenges or obstacles, I'm not growing, I'm not learning and expanding. And success is going to be a byproduct of what I turn those challenges into opportunities and into results. Without them, I can't maintain or grow those results. They're a part of the process, and that's one thing I had to learn.
Yeah, I mean, look, success is not a straight line. Is this right? You have good days, bad days. As long as the trend is upwards, I always tell people recovery is like the stock market. I mean, you have good days, bad days, right? Business is like that too. There are some days I'm like, yeah, got it nailed. Then other days where a couple of days go by, a case doesn't come in. I'm like, okay, the world is ending. I can't take it anymore. And I look at my wife and she's like, oh God, stop it. Dramatic. Too dramatic, right? And you move forward and you get past it and the cases come in. And I mean, that's it. You got to keep pushing forward. And I tell my stepson, right, there's only 3 ways to get money. You earn it, you steal it, or someone gives it to you. Well, I don't have a trust fund. I don't want to go to jail. So I'm going to do it the old fashioned way.
Exactly.
I'm going to get up every single day, go to work and hustle and keep grinding. There's just no shortcuts.
Well, you just made a point. There's no shortcuts. Nobody's going to hand it to you on a silver platter. It's good old fashioned hard work. And then knowing, as you get into a rhythm of things, then how to streamline things, how to delegate and how to work on your business, not in it when you get to that point. But in the first few years or so, it's like you're the cook, the bottle washer, the waiter, the waitress, you're everything. You got to do what you got to do to keep things moving forward and get it to a place where you can systemize it and bring people in to help you.
Yeah, and that's what we're working on. We're now, the point where we're systematizing policies and procedures. So my wife, who is just incredible, she's just amazing. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I did. She really runs the financial end of the building, of the business. I run the sales and marketing. I'm really good at making the phone ring, and I work with the sales team. And I shoot training videos for the staff and all of this stuff. I mean, it's just a constant. You cannot just say, oh, okay, well, I built a business now. It doesn't work that way. It just simply doesn't. It's like going to the gym. You can't do it once and then say, oh, I'm good. No, you got to keep working at it. And that's business. And you can bring in people to help you, but you got to keep moving it or it just stagnates and dies.
Exactly. No, valuable advice. And thank you being transparent again with that. In terms of what was some of the valuable, you talked about grit and resilience. And then how does that show up with the results that you generate for the clients you serve? Because obviously you are more than just a lawyer to them. You're somebody they can trust. Somebody, because obviously I picked up on those values that you were talking about, even though you may not have said exactly this is my value. I already immediately can pick up on that just by what you were saying, your body language, your eye contact. And I know some people that are listening to this are not watching the YouTube video and can only hear what you're saying. But nonetheless, I picked that up. How important are those values and how they show up in your body language, your eye contact, your words, anything, and how you're communicating to your audience, your clients?
So I think it really starts from instilling the core values and the mission of the business with your team,
Yeah.
right? Everybody has to be on the same page. I mean, for instance, when our clients come to us, they're extremely emotional, they're needy, they're desperate because we're the last port of call to try and save their family and their loved one. And I tell my staff, listen, you have to understand these people. They're coming to us to because nobody else can help them. And you have to understand why they appear to be a little emotional and they might be a tad angry, right? They're frustrated because nobody's been able to help them. And you have to be compassionate and have a little empathy, right? You also need to make sure that you are available to them. You can't just file the case and say, forget it, right? You need to stay in contact with these clients and make sure that they understand that we care, right? That we're here to help them. That doesn't mean to say that you have to allow them to call you at 4 or 5 in the morning when you're asleep, but you have to be available. And if you're not available when they call, then set a time. But part of the core values is letting the clients know that we really care about them. And I've really been, I tell the staff, this isn't, if this doesn't work for you, and we've had staff members that listen, this isn't for me. Okay, great. Then we're not the right fit for you, and you're not the right fit for us. And we have to part ways. We do so as friends, and we move forward. But that's really important to us, because if we're not all on the same page and one staff member is just not doing what needs to be done, then it reflects badly on all of us. And how can we go out and help more people? So
that's so true. What you just said, if we're not in alignment, we're never going to be perfect. But if we're not in alignment, like you said, you think you could hide that with your audience and your clients, but it's like water. It finds a way to get to where it's got to go. Right? It's going to come out no matter what. But when it comes out genuine and authentic from those values, that speaks louder than words will ever do.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's important is that I tell the staff this, is that when you're talking to a family, is that we don't, excuse my French, bullshit people about what we can and cannot do. We are honest. And I tell families, when and I still do a lot of consults with families, I say, look, is it okay if I'm honest with you about what I can and cannot do for you? They're like, yeah, okay, great. Let's have that honest conversation. This is what I think that you need to do. That's an option. The other option is you either do nothing or you do this, and I think this will be the outcome. And as my late father told me, when it comes to making important family decisions, you get all the advice that you need, and then you make the decision that's right for your family. So that's what I do. I say, look, here's option 1. Here's the consequences of doing that. Here's option 2. Here's the consequences of doing that. You decide what you think is right for your family. I know what I would do, but that I'm not in your shoes. But I tell them honestly, this is what will happen if you don't do this. This is what will happen if you do this. And I say, and I say, look, here I am. I mean, I'm an open book. So I think that's important, right? Is to be really honest, and at the risk sometimes of offending people. And I've had people say, I don't like what you just told me. Okay, listen, if you want to be BS'd or have smoke blown
exactly,
right, then call somebody else. Exactly. I'm here to help you save your family. If you don't want to hear the truth, then I'm not the right lawyer for you. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I have really worked hard at is trying to give as much value as I can for free. So pretty much every day I blast out a video on all the social media platforms. I shoot them on my phone, and they are about real life cases. Not what you read on Google, not what some other lawyer who does, door law tells you. This is how it really is, because you can read the black letter law on Google. I'm going to tell you how it works in the real world, and I'll give it to you for free. You just got to go and look on YouTube or wherever, and you'll find it. And if you decide you want to talk about, adding an illegal component to getting you some relief, okay, we're here to help you. So I try to give away as much as we can. And lastly, and one of the things that we have been doing very recently is giving back to the community. So we just sponsored a 5K run here in Boca, organized by an amazing lady who set up an not-for-profit, and she's taking the funds and putting people into treatment who don't have the money. And it's called RTR, Right to Recover. And we sponsored it. And my wife ran in the 5K. And so we're giving back now. And that is one of the just the benefits of helping a boatload of people over enough time. You can give back and start giving some of this away for free. How about that?
Yeah, so I love the give without expectation, because I always say when you give without expectation, from empathy and kindness, not pleasing and enabling others, that's different, but from empathy, it comes back to you in other ways, and you receive without resistance, and that's often we've talked about that here on this show over the last 4 years. So no, thank you for sharing that. So valuable. As we get towards the end of the show, is there anything that you'd like to share on how a purpose-driven business is more sustainable than a business that's designed just for on a transactional basis?
So I think if your focus is, well, I got to make money, then I don't know if you can be. I don't know if you can be as transparent about what you do, because ultimately your goal is to see how far down into the potential client's pocket you can get, right? And I don't think that is a long-term. I don't think that's a long-term philosophy. I just don't see how that works over the long term. I think you have to find. I think even as lawyers, I get, maybe it's because of my training experience, I sometimes get frustrated with lawyers because, unfortunately, the legal profession does tend to attract an ego-driven mindset to a certain extent, which is why a lot of lawyers end up having behavioral health issues. And I've put a bunch of lawyers in treatment too. And I'm also now doing stuff with the Florida bar to help some of the lawyers. But I think you have to really focus on who is it you're really trying to help, right? I mean, do you want to sell Fords, or do you want to sell Fords, Chevys, Mazdas, and BMWs? Right. I personally would sell. I want one brand. Exactly. I want to be the best at one thing and one thing only. I mean, and listen, with all due respect to some of my competition, they're doing personal injury and divorce work and
the jack of all trades.
And I'm like, they're a jack of all trades and a master of none. But I've also built resources around what I do. I mean, I have clinicians on staff. I have a retired cop with a team of investigators, because we get calls of missing people. You just can't do that if you're doing this, that, and the other.
No, you're about solutions. It's about the relationships. It's about the results, and not just that it's a transaction. And and then it's just your people are just you're just a number in my business, versus no, you are somebody that I care about, and care about seeing that you get the results that they're important to you. So I think that's wonderful. As we hit the end of the show here, Mark, I want to make sure that the audience has an opportunity to get to know you, to reach out to you. What are you up to? Anything that you'd like to provide them, and the best way to reach you. But before that, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to be with us here at Business Influencers, and that we again express our gratitude for you being here and sharing your wisdom and personal experience with us.
Well, I mean, what the work you're doing is important, right? I mean, you have a bunch of people that you're trying to help, which is entrepreneurs and business people, and you have been incredibly gracious and allowed me to come on and share my journey. And I'm very humbled and grateful that you allowed me to do that. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. So the floor is yours for the next minute and a half. If you'd like to share just with the audience, how can they get in touch with you? Anything that you'd like to share or provide them?
So if you've got a family who's in crisis, you've got somebody in the family who's been suffering for years and years and years with a behavioral health issue, we'd love to chat with you. You can find us online, mentalhealthaddictionlawfirm.com. That's mentalhealthaddictionlawfirm.com. And if you can't find me there, then just Google my name. I'm pretty much all over the internet. Just Mark Astor or Mark G. Astor Attorney. You will find me on all the social media platforms. You'll also find our content, so you can get all the information you need for free. And then if you want to talk to us, I got Brittany and Rachel who run my intake department. You can talk to them for free. They'll give you any information you want. And if you need a legal strategy session with one of the lawyers, yeah, happy to do that too.
Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you, and we highly encourage everybody to reach out to Mark, get to know him. Again, he's in Boca Raton, Florida, but again, I'm sure, Mark, you could help in so many different areas. I'm sure it's just in Florida, but if it means that you could direct people in other areas, that you're that type of person that can do that.
Well, so my wife and I also bought in Massachusetts. In fact, I will tell you.
Oh, great.
Most of the families that we work with are not in Florida. They're as far west as California and Hawaii. And
wonderful.
That Northeast corridor. And we are helping them, if their loved one isn't already here in Florida, to get them here to Florida. Because we have great treatment. We have an amazing legal system that helps us to keep them there long enough. So, yeah, I mean, we're used to our clients testifying on Zoom. So
all right. Well, you heard that, everybody. And we'll make sure that all the links to contact Mark will be here in the show notes. So take advantage of that. And we highly encourage you to reach out to him, either for yourself, if this is applicable, or to a loved one or somebody that you care about. Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris.
And thank you, audience, for joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to bringing subject matter experts like Mark in each and every week to share their words of wisdom, insights, and personal experience to help elevate you and your level of success, including your influence, till the next level. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you here, same time, same date, next time. Have a great one. Take care.